Hello, Theology in the Raw fans, supporters, and listeners. I just wanted to reach out and give you an update on how the podcast has been going. But first of all, I feel like I need to explain my hat because I'm actually a massive Dodgers fan, which is really ironic because the Red Sox just beat the Dodgers and I'm wearing a Red Sox hat. And I was actually wearing this hat because it's such a cool hat. And I went to Fenway Park in Boston and saw a Red Sox game last month. And I was so stoked to go there. I love Fenway Park, but I actually love the Dodgers more than the Red Sox. So I was wearing this hat as I was rooting for the Dodgers. It's weird. It's my world. Anyway, the podcast has been going super well. I haven't actually looked at the analytics in maybe over 2 years because I am incapable of figuring out how to even access the analytics. So I just record the podcast and release it and move on and do another podcast, whatever. But I actually checked it the other day. We have over 10 or almost 10,000 people subscribing to Theology in the Raw. That's crazy. That's insane. We have over 200 supporters on Patreon, and I just recorded my 703rd episode last week. So I am knee deep in podcast land. So I just wanted to say thank you to those of you who are supporting the show on Patreon. I've tried to increase my Patreon presence, if you will. I want to give more things in return to those who are supporting the podcast. So if you've noticed some an increase in the number of Patreon only podcasts that I'm recording. I've tried to stay engaged with my Patreon supporters on the Patreon webpage. So if you desire to support the show, if you want to become part of the Theology in the Raw team through Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/theology in the raw. That's patreon.com/theology in the raw. And I wanted to make a really an affordable tier of support. So I created a few months ago a $5 a month support tier for those who want to support the show. And at $5 a month, you get in return a Patreon only podcast at least once a month. Sometimes I'll record more than one a month. And it also gives you access to send me messages, ask questions, just kind of banter around on the Patreon page. So again, that's patreon.com/theology in raw if you desire to support the show. If not, that's fine too. I get it. I listen to podcasts and I don't support many other podcasts. So if you enjoy the show and can't afford to support, that's awesome. But if you do desire to support the show, it's patreon.com/theology in raw. So thank you so much to the 200 plus people who are listening to the show, who support the podcast. Thank you so much for supporting and listening to Theology in the Raw.